When virtual reality becomes fashion according to social class, some will do anything to get more of it. Hello, my name is Emmanuel and this is Tales from the Interface Live. In these videos, I share my screen and show you a little bit of behind the scene and what goes on when I work on my comic. So without further delay, I will show my screen to you. Just open up my file. I'm a little bit late this morning, sorry about that. I'll just do a couple more minutes. So these sessions last on about an hour usually. So today I'm working on page 4 and I am at the stage where I start putting in shadows. So here you go, so page 4. So talking a little bit about the process. First of all, I write down all my ideas in a little note file. Then I do a storyboard phase, which is a very rough drawing. Then I clean up that drawing, which is called the pencil stage traditionally. And then I ink it. And I color block it. So see, this page has been color blocked, but it's not shadowed yet, so you can see a little bit of the difference. So at this point, I'm just putting in shadows. I will come back again to this panel and put in some highlights and maybe some little bit of special effect, or I'll see. So now I'm working on this panel here. I already did a bit of shadowing work. So one thing I like to do is use a brown. So I save the brown in my color palette here. And then I use a 30% opacity color burn, and I think it adds up a lot of energy to the shadows, so they're not entirely black. I think it makes the drawing more lively, so that's why I do it like that. Shadows are never entirely black anyway. They're always a bit tainted in reality. So I didn't do shadow work on this panel yet. So that's what I'm gonna do. Actually, I started this panel before finishing the one behind, so let me just work on that. So create a new layer, color burn, 30%. And then I use the lasso fill. So please feel free to ask any question you may have. I'm always happy to answer your question. I also like to hear your comments or any other question you might have about the comic. And of course, if you like these videos, please like, please subscribe. All that good stuff is always super appreciated. I always like to know what people enjoyed from my videos, so feel free to let me know. Also, if there's something you think I can improve, feel free to let me know as well. So I'm really just trying to make the basic shadow work here. I will come again to these pages and try to improve upon it. Sometimes I like to add another deeper shadow on top of this shadow. So this is something I will see afterwards. But the important thing is that your whole, in this case, this chapter is one, it feels cohesive, and there's a, you know, you don't have like super detailed page and then one page that looks unfinished. So you need a kind of continuity between the amount of work in each page, so that it makes sense. So working in steps like that, I find, is the best approach to making your comic feel like it's one story. Also, your drawing might change a little bit. You might find some little tricks that you want to incorporate in the beginning of the story. I know if I were to redo the first pages of the webcomic, I would probably change some stuff. So you gotta find that balance where is it, you know, it doesn't need to be perfect, you know, but it's more important to finish. So when I do, because these stories are available in books, I've done 2 crowdsourcing campaign for the first 2 books. So when I do that finished product, I do a once over for all the page and try to see if there's any glaring thing that bugs me that I would like to fix. Sometimes I fix some little things where, you know, maybe I find that some pages could do with a little bit more detail. You know, sometimes I want this to be finished so much I don't spend enough time on a page, and then, you know, reading it back with some distance kind of makes that obvious. So but I try not to spend too much time on this and really focus on the next thing, which is it can be difficult. You know, I want to make the best thing possible. But I know that my next work will be even better, so you got to learn to leave it alone at some point. I've been trying to find ways to make my comics a little bit more efficient time-wise, because it takes about a year for me to do a 24-page chapter, which is very long, and I'm not. And I think the main reason for this is that I'm only doing this like a couple hours a day. So yeah, so I do want to try to produce more, but it's difficult to find the right balance between quality and giving something that's done in a hurry. So I do want to give a good product and maintain quality, but at the same time being able to work faster. So I try to see where detail is most required. You know, where does it add the most value? I do. When I started making the first page, I did a lot of cross-hatching, and I know a lot of people liked it. But it does take a whole lot of time, and I'm not convinced that it's always necessary. I've been doing a lot less, and I don't dislike the result. So talking about the cross-hatching, I will probably this is always the last step of my process. So I start by doing this shadow work, and then I will go in and do some finishing touches. So let me show you something actually. I'll go to my website. So this is a kind of finished work. So you see what I mean by cross-hatching is all those little bars here, those lines. And then you can have like white with clearer on darker and make some interesting effects. So I do believe that I will do some of this, but I'm keeping that for the last step. One thing I'm trying to do is try to hit the fall for this release, so so that I can start sharing pages in the fall. We're still the beginning of summer, but it passes really quickly. So I don't know if I can make it. I really hope so. But if it's not fall, it will be early winter. I can't imagine unless something really bad happens. Then you know I should be able to finish those pages by winter. So one chapter is 24 pages. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm doing a 24 pages chapter, and that's what I'm saying that it will be done in the fall. Again, hopefully. And then it's going to take me another year to be able to finish another book. But at this point, I'll be publishing pages. So what I'm thinking is, since this is going to be done in the fall, and I should start updating the website. But typically, I've updated the website every week. But considering it takes me 2 years, it's about a year per chapter. So maybe instead of having every week, I think I'm gonna slow down and publish a new page every 2 weeks, so that the site never goes on hiatus. Because I know this is a good way to lose people when you go on hiatus. A lot of people, they forget about the comic. So I'm hoping that this will be okay with readers, but I don't see how else I could do it. I really don't have enough time to do a 1 page per week thing. It's like if I could, I would release a new book every year. I've been thinking about releasing a 24-page book every year, which I probably could. But having a new campaign, crowdfunding campaign every year is, I think it's a bit much for me. And it's a bit much to ask people for support every year. I think 2 years feels more, a bit more natural. I don't know. What do you think? I'm not the greatest at shadows, but I try my best. Should practice more, do more studies. Takes a really long time to master this kind of thing. And it's also tied to perspective, which is one of the, I would say, probably the most difficult thing about drawing. And in comics, you do want to make good use of perspective. I mean, if you're trying to do something abstract or whatever, but in my experience, though, of the kind of comic I do, having good knowledge of perspective is really important. Just looking at the shadows a little bit here. I think this should be here. I'm trying to think about the direction of the sun or the light. So I would say comes from the top like this, be a little bit like this, so the shadow, the feet should be shadowed as well. So the last step I did was adding a soft light on top, just to try to give a bit more dimension to the panel. I don't know how much it shows on screen here. But I think it adds just a little bit, so that, you know, the lines are a bit more merged in the drawing. So they're a little bit darker in the bottom than in the top. Just creates a little bit more of an atmosphere, especially in this case since the feet are further. So having this gradient on top really helps to give some depth, I think. Okay, next. So same recipe. Use a color burn, 30% with brown. I don't want to use black. I think it kills the energy in the drawing, I find. So I do use black in the panel borders and the text. At least in this chapter. So I try to avoid making too big changes, but I think this was a good change, so I think it was worth implementing. So one dream I have is being able to produce a complete book that contains all the entire story. I really hope to see this one day. what I'm doing here is selecting the yellow color in the background. I like to add a little bit of a gradient to give the background, make the background a little bit more interesting. And I find the best way to do gradients is really less is more. So I'm gonna try to find a like a very similar color. Now I'll probably reduce the opacity a whole lot. And in this case, I want it like not radial but linear. So let me see. I'm gonna put it like this. Have the darker in the bottom, like this. And I want to reduce the opacity a little bit. I think just having a little bit like that is enough. So as you can see, this step is not so time consuming. It's not too bad. It takes more time than the color blocking for sure. So same thing here. I'm gonna select the red. I want to give this red a little bit more life. So new layer. I like to keep my flat colors intact in case I need to do a selection like this. Because if you apply the gradient on your flat, then you can't select it very well. And then I think I can use the same gradient actually. But I'm gonna start from the top, yeah, like this. And I think that might be enough. And while I'm there, just something to notice is how a silhouette is important in a panel. So if you can see here, even without any lines, you can still tell what's going on just by the color flats. And that's a good way to know that your drawing is efficient. If I couldn't tell what was going on, I think my composition would be a failure. But now I look at this and in one blink of an eye I can already tell what's going on. So putting back the ink. So the ink is just really the little flourish at the end. Okay, so I think, typically I've been changing my way of doing color shadowing because I found that my shadowing was very boring. So now I'm trying to make my shadowing a little bit more dynamic. Not dynamic, but less very repetitive, because I used to like go to a drawing like that and say, oh, okay, the sun is from the top, let's just add a little shadow underneath the chin, and always the same shadow, always from the same spot. So now I'm trying to give myself a bit of a challenge and try to vary that a little bit more. Thanks Bryce and Francis for the likes. Very much appreciated. Yeah, so as I was saying, I want the light, I don't want the light to be boring and come from the top. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna think about this. So there is light already, we can see from the wall that I already made some choice. The wall is lighter, here is darker. So There is light coming from her back. It doesn't mean I need to be a slave to that. But I would say I need to try to keep to this unless I want to change this, and I don't. But basically what this means is her front should be darker, so it should have shadows. So let me check my layer. So it's 30%. I need to make it color burn again to give that richness to the shadow. And then what I'm gonna do is really try to think of this light on the left and shadow on the front. So let's say I start with her arm. Her arm is round. I can do an imaginary. I have the wrong line tool here. Okay, so my shadow fill. So it's really like this. So the front is darker. I'm gonna give it a bit more actually. Our entire front will be. The top is also lit. So I want to, for sure she's gonna have a shadow under her chin. But the shadow will go more towards the right than it goes to the left. I'm thinking of my her face is gonna be lit from the left. I think most of her face will be darkened actually. You know, when I do the final, I can also add more to this. For now, I kind of want to and if you think you made a mistake, it's really no big deal. You know, you can always go back and edit. Nothing's lost. You know, computers are very forgiving. It's probably my favorite thing about working on computer. It's being able to undo, being able to make backups, going back to previous versions. It's a game changer for at least me, and I think a lot of people. So I think here I'm just gonna erase here. I think it shouldn't be darker. So as you can note, as you may have noticed, I don't have a reference for that, so that's why I'm doing a lot of guesswork here. So if you can make references, go for it. As I said before, not long ago, I really don't have a lot of time to work on these comics. So I try to make like good with the time I have and always improve. Yeah, so I think this is pretty dynamic with the light, the shadow in the front of the body. This is something I never did before. Just trying. And it made no sense. I don't know why. I guess it's just because we're not used to seeing this kind of thing in comics. So one thing that's often done is giving a bit of a framing to the art, and you can do this by highlighting a little bit like this. So and I can repeat it to her shoulder a little bit more. Maybe trying to, yeah. So there is light coming from her back. I want her front to be completely darkened. And I probably will add another layer of shadowing here. But having a little frame like this, I think, helps to make her pop up a bit more. And I can, that might be too much, but I can also do something like that. Not sure if it's too much. I'll leave it there for now. Not sure I need this at all here. I'm just checking if just so you can see the difference. I think creates a very nice effect. Should do a little bit in our hair as well. I'm using the gradients here to kind of frame the drawing a little bit more. So one thing I want to try, so the gradient here, the soft light, applies to the entire drawing. So what I want to try is try to isolate Clara here from their background. So I'm gonna, oh yeah, so I'm gonna just pick her. Wrong, here, 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 and then I'm gonna mask this one. So I just want to see how much an effect that has. So as you can see, the window here is on the same layer, and you can tell what I'm trying to accomplish here. So the layer, this window shouldn't be there. I'm just gonna move it out. So I always lock the transparency of my layer so I don't make any mistakes. So I've unlocked now. I'm gonna just select this window, cut it, and simply paste it. Relog the transparency and pull it behind, and there you go. I like this. One thing else I can do, maybe a bit too strong here. Yeah. And then another thing I can do is select the mask layer, take a go pure black, and try to, it seemed like it worked. I have 100% opacity, just should be on my layer. This works well, and let's just make another layer just to test it out. Okay. If I do it like this. So now this applies to her. I want it to apply to more. So I'm trying something here. Hope you'll be patient with me. If I in Photoshop, you draw with black and then it erases. This is a little bit different. I think if I erase, yeah, that's it. Okay. So I need to do a gradient erase. Okay, so this will be black, this will be white. Let me see if that works. No, not at all. Black here. If I say this is 0. It's the opacity of the full gradient here. Doesn't do what I want it to do. Another thing I can do is just try to take a really big size of brush and just simply erase with how do you do this? Simply fills everything. What's wrong with this thing? If I didn't have anything, let's say I move this here just for fun, I create a new mask. Anyway. Should do something here. Just completely fills it. I'm gonna have to read on that. Unless it's not possible, that would be stupid. Should be possible. Somber shade. Unless I take it to this and then just erases everything. I'm gonna have to read up on gradient erase, and maybe next session I'll try to fill you in on what I learned. This it works on specifically on some things, but you should be able to put a gradient on a mask. I mean, this is some pretty basic thing, at least in Photoshop. I mean, that's something that always bugs me in the Kill Paint. I mean, the way they handle the mask is pretty confusing to me. So if I remove all hardness of my brush and erase like this kind of gives me the effect I wanted. I guess it works, but it's not exactly what I wanted to do. So what I did, I don't know if it shows well on camera, is I simply removed some of that yellow thing from the floor so that the perspective is the atmospheric perspective is more apparent. I think it just makes her pop up a lot more. If I remove this, you can see. So I think this panel is pretty cool like this. I'm missing a bit of shadowing effect around the wall. Yeah. So I don't know if you can hear it, but my neighbor is weed whacking. Well, don't worry too much. We're almost done here, so something like this. Oh, I'm using the wrong color. Pretty happy how this panel is turning out. Pretty nice. I'm not sure if that makes sense though. Oops. How this. Trying to think of how this tentacle would affect the wall behind it. Because I'm working, and I'm not really using gradients for shadows, which I could do. But I kind of like the more cartoony effect. So what I'm saying is probably there would be some shadowing between here, but it would be green and less strong, I think. I kind of like the straight cut shadows like this. And then complemented with the shadow effect I just showed you. I think it creates a pretty nice effect overall. Maybe this. Yep. Happy with this panel. I'm gonna share this one on social media, so watch out for that. And yeah, I'm about done. I did a little bit more, as I said, because I came in late. But this is about it for today, for this Saturday. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope I will see you again next Saturday. In the meantime, as always, I try to do a few sessions during the week. I think last week maybe just one. But during the week, I go in and just draw. I don't comment anything. I just open my screen so you can see what I'm up to. I love to read you. I don't typically answer much because I'm focused on my work. But that's about it. So if you'd like to comment, like, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff, it's super appreciated. And I will catch you around on the internet. So have a good Saturday, interface user. Bye bye.